President Donald Trump is urging Republican lawmakers to, quote, play their Trump card in order to get the government back up and running. He fired off a number of social media posts last night saying they need to go for the, quote, nuclear option and get rid of the filibuster. That message comes as the government shutdown stretches into its 31st day. Here's where things stand right now. Today, military troops are owed yet another paycheck. Tomorrow, more than 40 million Americans will miss out on food stamp benefits for everyday essentials like groceries. And also happening on Saturday, Americans could get a first glimpse of skyrocketing healthcare costs when open enrollment begins under the Affordable Care Act. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson sounding off on the pain millions of families could soon face.
We are now reaching a breaking point. Thanks to Democrats voting no on government funding now 14 different times, SNAP benefits for millions of American families are drying up. It's about 1 in 8 people in this country who rely upon this to literally put food on their table. And the blame for this lies 100% with the senators sitting over there on the Democrat Party. They are the ones who have locked arms and decided over and over and over and over, 14 times now, to vote against these services being provided. And now I want you to think about that. You're going to have real people, real families. You're going to have children who will go hungry beginning this weekend when those resources dry up. They rely upon that, and yet the Democrats continue with their political games in Washington while people are sitting around the dinner table without the resources that they need.
And we've got team coverage for you. Standing by for us live on Capitol Hill is congressional reporter Taurean Small. But first, let's go live to the White House and CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, thank you for your time today. What are the chances the Senate Republicans will follow the president's lead about the filibuster?
Pretty damn slim. They are not fans of doing so because they know you wear the shoe right now, it's going to be on the other foot at some point in the future. And so while there are many senators in both parties who feel it's time to get rid of a key tool that the Senate uses to ensure some level of cooperation, bipartisanship, and also sort of a studied nature to legislating, not going to be enough at this point. It's telling, Lugo, that this is the most substantive comment we've had from the president directly on the fate of this 31-day shutdown since at least before his trip to Asia. We haven't heard of any interactions between him and congressional leaders on the details, him and Democratic leaders on finding a way to get this done. Instead, he's just throwing out there something that members of both parties on the extremes are fans of, but those that sort of help run that chamber in the middle and its spirit and purpose of consensus don't want to see happen.
And Ed, what about military forces? They're supposed to receive another paycheck. Will they get it?
They are getting it. The Defense Department has found a way. The White House insisted they would be paid, and it tells us that it's essentially pulling about $2.5 billion from a military housing fund that was established by the Big Beautiful Bill Act earlier this year, another $1.4 billion from some Defense Department research and development projects that it's going to cover Air Force and Army payroll for now, and another nearly $1.5 billion from some U.S. Navy purchasing funds or procurement funds to help cover their salaries there. They can do it for this week. It gets trickier beyond this. And this is part of the concern or the argument about if you can pay the troops and if you can pay federal law enforcement, surely, some critics will argue, there's a way to find a way to pay at least partial SNAP benefits to the 42 million people out there who are losing it this weekend. We've asked the Agriculture Secretary, the Vice President about that during the week this week, and neither suggested that such budgetary maneuvering was coming, and instead shifted back to the idea that it's the fault of the Democrats for not letting them get that money.
All right. Ed O'Keefe at the White House for us today. Thank you so much for your reporting. Now let's head to Capitol Hill and CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small. Taurean, for those who don't know, can you explain to us exactly what the filibuster is?
Yeah, sure. In brief, it's a tool that's used by minority members to essentially obstruct legislative action here on the Senate side. We also have seen that happen when it comes to judicial nominees, which is why that process has changed, which, as we've heard lawmakers say, it fundamentally changes the point of the Senate, whereas in the House you need just a simple majority to go forward. This requires a supermajority, at least 60 members, and essentially invokes bipartisanship or a sense of bipartisanship in this chamber. History has showed the changes to that has had some reverberating effects. Democrats nuked the filibuster to push through judicial nominees quicker. Republicans, when they took over the majority, then nuked it for Supreme Court nominees. So it's one of those things that both sides are really trepidatious about moving. Yeah. Here's actually Speaker Johnson. He isn't in the Senate, but this is what he had to say about preserving it.
What you're seeing is an expression of the president's anger at the situation. He is as angry as I am and the American people are about this madness. And he just desperately wants the government to be reopened so that all these resources can flow to the people who need it so much. Look, I'll just say this in general. As I've said many times about the filibuster, it's not my call. I don't have a say in this. It's a Senate chamber issue. We don't have that in the House, as you know. But the filibuster has traditionally been viewed as a very important safeguard. If the shoe was on the other foot, I don't think our team would like it. The Democrats, look, they've said what they would do. They would pack the Supreme Court. They would make Puerto Rico and D.C. states. They would ban firearms. They would do all sorts of things that would be very harmful for the country. And the safeguard in the Senate has always been the filibuster.
And it appears Leader Thune is also in line with Speaker Johnson on that. He, about less than a month ago, during a press conference, said that there was no way he would consider nuking the filibuster. We haven't asked him about the president's recent words, but it's likely that his position has changed, Mugo.
Okay, Taurean Small at the Capitol for us today. Thank you.